The crystal chandelier cast shadows across my mother's dining room table like prison bars. I should have known that was an omen. My name is Carmen, and I've spent 28 years being the family disappointment. Tonight was supposed to be just another Christmas dinner, where I smiled politely while my mother paraded my older brother around like he'd personally invented money. What I didn't expect was for everything to change with a single email notification. "Carmen, darling, could you please put that phone away?" My mother's voice cut through the dinner conversation like a blade wrapped in silk. "We're celebrating Forrest's promotion to senior vice president." I slipped my phone face down on the white tablecloth, but not before catching a glimpse of the sender. Sundance Film Festival. My heart hammered against my ribs. "Sorry, Mom." "Congratulations, Forrest." I raised my wine glass with everyone else, watching my brother's perfectly practiced smile. "Thank you, Carmen." Forrest straightened his tie, the same gesture he'd made since we were kids, whenever he wanted attention. It's been a challenging year, but the firm finally recognized my dedication. 33 years old and already making partner track. My mother beamed, her manicured hand resting on his shoulder. "I always knew you'd make something of yourself." The unspoken comparison hung in the air like smoke. Unlike your sister, who's still waiting tables at 28. Martina, my mother's best friend and professional enabler, leaned forward with predatory interest. "And Carmen, dear, how's your little hobby going? Still making those videos?" The word hobby hit like a slap. 2 years of 18-hour days, 3 jobs, maxed out credit cards, and sleeping on my friend's couch weren't a hobby. But I learned long ago that defending myself only gave them more ammunition. "It's going well, thank you." "She's being modest," my mother said, though her tone suggested the opposite. "Carmen's been working on some sort of documentary. About families, I believe." "How fascinating!" Martina's smile was razor sharp. "What kind of families?" Before I could answer, my mother continued. "I keep telling her she should consider something more stable. Forrest could probably get her an entry-level position at his firm. Administrative work, perhaps." My cousin Hadley shifted uncomfortably beside me. We used to be close as kids, before family politics drove a wedge between us. Now she just stared at her plate whenever these conversations started. "I appreciate the offer, but I'm committed to filmmaking." "Commitment is admirable," my mother said, cutting her prime rib with surgical precision. "But at some point, one must face reality. You can't live in a fantasy forever." Forrest chuckled. "Come on, Mom. Let Carmen have her dreams. Some people need longer to figure out what they're good at." The condescension in his voice made my teeth clench. He had no idea what I was good at, because he'd never bothered to look. My phone buzzed against the table. I ignored it. "I just worry," my mother continued, her voice taking on that familiar tone of fake concern. "You're almost 30, Carmen. Most people your age have established careers, families, some sense of direction." "Gwendolyn's right," Martina nodded sagely. "My daughter Sarah just bought her second house. She's only 26. The phone buzzed again, then again. "I think Carmen's doing fine," Hadley said quietly, the first word she'd spoken all evening. "Of course you do, dear," my mother smiled. "You always were too kind for your own good." The dismissal was complete. Not just of me, but of anyone who dared suggest I might have value. I felt the familiar burn of humiliation creep up my neck. My phone lit up with another notification. I couldn't help myself. I glanced down. The preview text made my world tilt. "Congratulations. We are pleased to inform you that your documentary submission has been accepted." I blinked hard, certain I was hallucinating. But the words remained. Sundance Film Festival. "Carmen?" My mother's voice seemed to come from underwater. "Are you listening?" I looked up to find everyone staring at me. My mother had her wine glass raised in what I realized was a toast. "I was just saying how proud we are of both our children, even if they're at different stages in their journeys, to family, and to accepting ourselves as we are. The toast was a masterpiece of passive aggression, a celebration of Forrest's success wrapped around a gentle reminder of my failure. Everyone clinked glasses while I sat there, my phone burning against my palm with the secret that would change everything. To family, I echoed, my voice steadier than I felt, but inside, I was already planning my revenge. The alarm screamed at 5 a.m., same as every day for the past 2 years. I rolled off Fatima's couch, grabbed my uniform, and prepared for another day in my triple life circus. Coffee's ready, Fatima called from the kitchen, already dressed for her job at the community theater. You look like you got hit by a truck. Feel like it too. I poured coffee into my travel mug, the same chip one I'd been using since college. Breakfast shift at Romano's, then I've got 6 dogs to walk, then cleaning offices until midnight. When do you sleep? Sleep is for people who don't have documentaries to finish. Fatima studied my face. You're different today. What happened at dinner? I couldn't tell her about Sundance yet. It felt too fragile, too unreal. Same old family drama. Forrest got promoted. I got lectured about my life choices. Your mother needs therapy. My mother needs a reality check. I grabbed my camera bag. Speaking of which, I might get some good footage today. The breakfast rush at Romano's was brutal as always. I balanced plates, refilled coffee, and smiled at customers who treated me like furniture. But I'd learned to use these jobs as research. Every entitled customer, every condescending comment, every moment of being invisible, it all went into my film. During my break, I checked my phone. 3 missed calls from unknown numbers and a dozen emails. My heart raced as I opened the first one. Ms. Carmen, this is Jessica from Sundance Programming. We'd love to schedule a call to discuss your film's screening slot. I nearly dropped my phone. Carmen! My manager's voice cut through my shock. Break's over! The rest of my shift passed in a blur. I served eggs and pancakes while my mind reeled with possibilities. Sundance. Actual Sundance. By noon, I was in Central Park with my regular pack of dogs, Mrs. Henderson's poodle, the Johnsons' golden retriever, and 4 others whose owner saw me as just another service provider. They had no idea I was documenting their casual cruelty. Carmen, Duchess seemed sluggish today, Mrs. Henderson said, not looking up from her phone. I hope you're not overfeeding her. No, ma'am, same routine as always. Well, make sure you're paying attention. These dogs cost more than your monthly salary. I smiled and nodded, but my camera was recording from my bag. Every dismissive comment, every casual insult. It was all going into the film. The afternoon brought more emails. A producer from Netflix wanted to discuss potential acquisition opportunities. My hands shook as I read it twice, then 3 times. You okay? Asked Jake, another dog walker I'd met in the park. Yeah, just work stuff. Tell me about it. These rich people think we're robots. He had no idea how right he was. By 6 p.m., I was at the office building downtown, pushing my cleaning cart through corporate hallways. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was literally cleaning up after people like my brother while secretly creating something that would expose their world. Excuse me. A woman in an expensive suit stopped me near the elevators. The bathroom on the 3rd floor needs attention. Someone spilled coffee. I'll take care of it. She walked away without a thank you, already back on her phone. I pulled out my camera and filmed the empty hallway, narrating quietly. This is what invisible looks like. 3 jobs, no recognition, no respect. But invisibility has advantages. People say things around you they'd never say to someone they considered equal. My phone buzzed. Fatima, how's the day from hell going? Actually, I need to tell you something. Can you meet me at that diner on 5th Street when I'm done? Everything okay? Better than okay, I think. The rest of my shift crawled by. I mopped floors and emptied trash cans while my mind raced with possibilities. Netflix. Sundance. The validation I'd been craving for years was suddenly within reach. At midnight, I finally met Fatima at the diner. She took one look at my face and ordered 2 pieces of pie. Spill it. My documentary got into Sundance. Her fork clattered onto her plate. Are you serious? Dead serious. And Netflix wants to talk. Carmen. She reached across the table and grabbed my hands. This is huge. This is everything you've worked for. I know. I can't believe it's real. What did your family say? I shook my head. They don't know. Nobody knows except you. Why not? I thought about my mother's toast, about Forrest's condescending smile, about years of being treated like a failure. Because I want to choose the moment. I want to control the narrative for once. Fatima grinned. You're planning something, aren't you? Maybe. Carmen Gill, you beautiful, devious genius. I smiled back, but my mind was already working. My mother's 60th birthday was coming up in 2 months. She was planning some elaborate dinner party, another chance to show off Forrest and dismiss me. But this time would be different. This time, I'd have the last word. The country club buzzed with the sound of clinking champagne glasses and forced laughter. Forrest's firm was hosting their annual networking brunch, and my mother had insisted I attend as family support. Translation: she wanted witnesses for another public display of her golden child. Carmen, you made it. Forrest appeared beside me, his smile as polished as his cufflinks. I wasn't sure you'd have time, what with your busy schedule. The sarcasm was subtle but sharp. I'd learned to document these moments, so I casually positioned my phone to record. Wouldn't miss it. Congratulations on the partnership track. Thank you. It's been a long road, but hard work pays off. He straightened his tie, that familiar gesture. Speaking of work, how's the unemployment line treating you? My mother materialized with Martina in tow, both dressed like they were attending a royal wedding. Forrest, darling, everyone's asking about your promotion, my mother beamed. The Hendersons want to introduce you to their son-in-law. He's in private equity. Of course, Mom. Forrest kissed her cheek. Carmen was just telling me about her latest project. Oh? Martina's eyebrows arched with predatory interest. Still playing with that camera? I'm working on a documentary about family dynamics, I said carefully. How ambitious, my mother said, her tone suggesting the opposite. Though I do worry about you spending so much time on these creative pursuits. At your age, shouldn't you be thinking about stability? A small crowd had gathered around us, drawn by my mother's theatrical voice. She loved an audience for her maternal concern performances. Carmen's always been the dreamer in the family, Forrest chimed in. Some people are built for business, others for hobbies. The word hung in the air like a slap. Several people chuckled politely. It's not a hobby, I said quietly. Of course not, dear. My mother patted my arm condescendingly. But you have to admit, it's not exactly a career path. Not like what Forrest has built. Forrest has certainly done well for himself, agreed Mrs. Patterson, one of my mother's social circle. Such a handsome, successful young man. You must be so proud. Incredibly proud, my mother glowed. He's everything a mother could want in a son. The implication was crystal clear, unlike her daughter. What exactly does your documentary cover? Asked Mr. Davidson, Forrest's colleague. Generational patterns in family relationships, how certain behaviors get passed down and reinforced. Sounds fascinating, he said, though his attention was already drifting toward Forrest. It really is, I continued, my voice gaining strength, especially the sections on favoritism and emotional manipulation. My mother's smile flickered for just a moment. Well, Martina jumped in quickly. I'm sure it's very therapeutic for you, dear. Actually, it's been incredibly revealing. You'd be amazed what people will say and do when they think no one's really watching. Forrest's laugh was too loud, too forced. Carmen's always been observant, sometimes a little too observant, if you know what I mean. Oh, I know exactly what you mean, I smiled back at him. The conversation moved on, but I kept my phone recording. Every dismissive comment, every patronizing laugh, every moment of being treated like an embarrassment. It was all going into my film. Later, I found myself in the bathroom, touching up my lipstick when I heard familiar voices from the hallway. She's becoming a problem, Forrest was saying. What do you mean? My mother's voice was sharp with concern. This documentary thing. What if she's filming us? What if she puts our family business out there for everyone to see? Don't be ridiculous. Carmen doesn't have the backbone for something like that. I'm serious, Mom. She's been acting different lately, more confident. It makes me nervous. Oh, Forrest, darling, you're overthinking this. Carmen's little project will never see the light of day. She doesn't have the connections, the talent, or the drive to make anything significant happen. But what if nothing? Your sister is a dreamer who will always be a dreamer. She'll make her little movie, show it to her friend, and then reality will set in, just like it always does. I pressed my back against the bathroom door, my phone capturing every word. I just don't want her embarrassing the family, Forrest said. She won't. Trust me, I know my daughter. She talks big, but she never follows through. It's been the pattern her entire life. Their footsteps faded down the hallway. I stayed in the bathroom for another 5 minutes, staring at my reflection. My mother's words echoed in my head. She never follows through. When I finally emerged, I found Forrest holding court near the bar, regaling a group with stories about his latest deal. My mother stood beside him like a proud peacock basking in reflected glory. I walked over and tapped Forrest on the shoulder. Excuse me, I need to head out. Early day tomorrow. Of course, he said dismissively. Good seeing you, Carmen. You too. Oh, and Forrest? Yeah? That documentary I'm working on, it's going to be bigger than you think. I walked away before he could respond, leaving him with a confused frown and my mother's nervous laughter ringing in my ears. Outside, I called Fatima. How did it go? Perfect. I got everything I needed. For the film? For the film, and for something else. The plane touched down in Salt Lake City, and I still couldn't believe I was actually here. Fatima squeezed my hand as we gathered our bags. You ready for this? I don't think anyone's ever ready for Sundance, I said, my voice shaking slightly. The shuttle to Park City was packed with filmmakers, distributors, and industry people. Everyone looked more confident than I felt. I clutched my festival badge like a lifeline. First time? Asked the woman sitting across from us. She had that effortless Hollywood polish that screamed established filmmaker. Yeah, you? Fifth time. Word of advice, don't let the chaos overwhelm you. Just focus on your film and trust the work. Easy for her to say. She probably didn't max out 3 credit cards to get here. Our hotel was a tiny room that cost more per night than I usually spent on groceries in a month. But when I saw the festival schedule with my film listed, Fractured Mirrors, a documentary by Carmen Gill, none of that mattered. Look at that. Fatima pointed at my name in the program. You're a real filmmaker now. I've been a real filmmaker. Now I'm just a filmmaker people might actually see. The first screening was in 2 days. I spent the time attending other documentaries, trying to calm my nerves and figure out how this whole world worked. Everyone seemed to know everyone else. I felt like an outsider looking in. Carmen? A man in an expensive jacket approached me after a screening. I'm Todd from Netflix. We've been following your film since the submission. My heart stopped, following it. We requested an advance screener from the festival. Very impressive work. Raw, honest, unflinching. "We'd love to chat after your premiere." He handed me his card and disappeared into the crowd before I could respond. "Did that just happen?" Fatima whispered. "I think so." The day of my screening arrived gray and snowy. I stood outside the theater, watching people file in, wondering if anyone would actually show up. The venue held 200 people. "Nervous?" Fatima asked. "Terrified?" "Good. That means it matters." By showtime, the theater was packed, standing room only. I introduced the film with shaking hands and a voice that barely carried to the back row. "This is a story about family, about the patterns we inherit, and the courage it takes to break them. Thank you for being here." The lights dimmed. For the next 90 minutes, I watched my life unfold on screen. The hidden camera footage from family dinners, the interviews with other people who'd experienced similar dynamics, the careful reconstruction of conversations that had shaped my entire sense of self-worth. I'd changed names and details, but the emotional truth was undeniable. This was my family, laid bare for the world to see. The final scene showed me working my 3 jobs, narrating over the footage. They call it the American dream, but what happens when your own family is the thing standing between you and that dream? The screen went black. Silence stretched for what felt like hours. Then someone started clapping, then another person, then the entire theater erupted in applause. People stood up. I saw tears on faces throughout the audience. "Holy shit," Fatima whispered beside me. The Q&A was a blur of questions about my process, my inspiration, my courage. One woman in the front row asked, "How did your family react when they saw this?" "They haven't seen it yet," I said into the microphone, "but they will." After the screening, Todd found me in the lobby. "That was extraordinary," he said. "Hauntingly familiar, like I said. We'd like to make an offer." "An offer?" "For distribution rights. We think this could reach a massive audience. People need to see this story." He handed me a folder. "Take a look at these numbers and let me know." I opened the folder in the hotel room later that night. The first page showed a licensing deal for $4.2 million. "Fatima," I said quietly. "What?" "Look at this." She read over my shoulder, her eyes widening. Carmen, this is life-changing money." "I know. You could quit all 3 jobs. You could make another film. I could finally show my family exactly who they've been dismissing all these years." The next morning, I called Todd and accepted the deal. The contracts would be ready in a week. "One question," I said. "When does this go public?" "We'll announce the acquisition next month. The film will launch on the platform in 6 months. Why?" "Just curious about timing." I hung up and stared out at the snow-covered mountains. My mother's 60th birthday was in 3 weeks. She was planning an elaborate dinner party at the country club. 40 guests, all her society friends, all the people who'd watched her dismiss me for years. "You're planning something diabolical, aren't you?" Fatima said. "I'm planning justice." "What's the difference?" "Justice is when the truth finally comes out, and everyone has to watch." I pulled out my phone and started typing a text to my mother. "Can't wait for your birthday dinner. I have a special gift for you." Her response came immediately. "How thoughtful, dear. Though please don't spend money you don't have." I smiled and deleted the text thread. In 3 weeks, she'd understand exactly how much money I had, and exactly how little she knew about her own daughter. The Netflix contract arrived on a Tuesday, thick and official in its FedEx envelope. I signed it in Fatima's kitchen while she made coffee, trying to act casual about becoming a millionaire. "So what's the plan?" she asked, sliding the mug across the counter. "Simple. I show up to Mom's birthday dinner, act normal, then give her the gift of truth. And by truth, you mean..." I held up the contract, Front page clearly showing my name and the $4.2 million figure. This truth. You're diabolical. I love it. The next 3 weeks were the strangest of my life. I kept working my jobs, kept living on Fatima's couch, kept pretending nothing had changed. My mother called twice to discuss dinner arrangements. I do hope you'll dress appropriately, Carmen. This is a sophisticated crowd. Of course, Mom. I actually bought a new dress. Oh, nothing too expensive, I hope. You know how I worry about your finances. Don't worry, I can afford it. I'd spent $800 on a designer dress from Nordstrom, the first expensive thing I'd bought myself in years. It felt like armor. Well, that's good, dear. I'm just glad you're making an effort. The condescension was automatic, reflexive. She couldn't help herself. I'm always making an effort, Mom. You just never notice. Of course I notice. I notice everything about my children. Do you? Carmen, is something wrong? You sound different. I'm fine. Just looking forward to celebrating you. A week before the party, I decided to visit my mother's house. I told her I wanted to help with preparations, but really, I was looking for ammunition. Years of being dismissed had taught me to be observant, and I'd always suspected there were family secrets hiding in plain sight. Carmen, what a surprise! My mother opened the door in full makeup despite being home alone. I wasn't expecting you. Thought I'd see if you needed help with anything. How thoughtful. Come in, come in. The house was immaculate as always, every surface polished to perfection. We sat in her pristine living room, surrounded by family photos that told the story she wanted the world to see. Successful son, devoted mother, picture-perfect family. Can I get you some tea? That would be nice. While she was in the kitchen, I wandered over to her antique secretary desk. The drawers were usually locked, but today the bottom one was slightly open. Inside, I saw a stack of letters tied with a ribbon. Here we are, my mother returned, with a tea service that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Mom, who's Maurice? She nearly dropped the teapot. What? Maurice. I saw some letters. Those are private, Carmen. Her voice was sharp, defensive. You shouldn't be going through my things. I wasn't going through anything. The drawer was open. She moved quickly to the desk, slamming the drawer shut. But I'd already seen enough. Love letters, dated from 34 years ago, right around the time Forrest was born. Maurice is an old friend, nothing more. An old friend who writes love letters? Carmen, this is inappropriate. Those letters are ancient history. Ancient history that you kept tied with a ribbon? My mother's perfectly composed facade cracked slightly. Some things are complicated. You wouldn't understand. Try me. No. She straightened, regaining control. This conversation is over. If you can't respect my privacy, perhaps you should leave. I stood up, my mind racing. Of course. I'm sorry for overstepping. Thank you. I'll see you at the dinner. I drove straight to Fatima's and pulled up everything I could find about Maurice Stewart online. Real estate developer, divorced, lived in the same social circles as my mother. In one society page photo from 30 years ago, I found him standing next to my mother at a charity gala. They looked very cozy. You think he's Forrest's father? Fatima asked, reading over my shoulder. I think it's possible. Would explain a lot. Like what? Like why Mom always treated me differently. Like why I look nothing like Forrest or my supposed father. Like why she's always been so desperate to make Forrest look perfect. What are you going to do with this? Nothing. Yet. The Netflix contract is enough for now. But you're keeping it in your back pocket. Insurance policy. The night before the party, I laid out my dress and practiced my speech in the mirror. Simple, direct, devastating. Thank you all for being here to celebrate my mother. She's taught me so much about perseverance. about never giving up on your dreams, about the importance of family. Tonight, I want to give her something special, something that shows how much her lessons have meant to me. My phone buzzed with a text from Forrest. Looking forward to tomorrow. Try not to embarrass Mom, okay? I typed back, wouldn't dream of it. Then I deleted the message and went to bed. Tomorrow, my family would finally see me, really see me, and they were going to hate every second of it. The country club's private dining room sparkled like a jewelry box. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over tables draped in ivory silk, and 40 of my mother's closest friends mingled with champagne glasses and practiced smiles. I arrived fashionably late in my designer dress, the Netflix contract folded neatly in a cream-colored envelope tucked inside my purse. Carmen! My mother glided over, resplendent in midnight blue silk. You look lovely. The surprise in her voice was barely concealed. She wasn't used to seeing me look like I belonged in her world. Happy birthday, Mom. 60 looks amazing on you. Thank you, darling. She air-kissed my cheek. Everyone's been asking about you. Have they? Well, Martina mentioned you might have some exciting news to share. I smiled mysteriously. Maybe. Forrest appeared at my elbow, looking every inch the successful executive in his tailored suit. Carmen, glad you made it. You clean up nice. Thanks. You look exactly the same as always. He missed the barb entirely. So what's this big news Mom mentioned? You'll have to wait and see. The dinner was a masterclass in social theater. My mother held court at the head table while guests took turns offering toasts and anecdotes about her charitable work, her impeccable taste, her wonderful children. Gwendolyn has always been such an inspiration, gushed Mrs. Patterson. Raising 2 children, maintaining her social commitments, always looking absolutely perfect. And Forrest, added Mr. Davidson. What a success story. You must be so proud. My mother beamed, incredibly proud. He's everything a mother could want. I sat at the family table, smiling politely, while the familiar sting of being overlooked washed over me. Hadley caught my eye from across the table and offered a sympathetic smile. And Carmen, Martina's voice cut through the chatter, how are your little projects coming along? The table quieted. All eyes turned to me. Actually, they're going very well, better than expected. Oh? My mother's eyebrows arched. You didn't mention any developments. I wanted it to be a surprise. Forrest leaned back in his chair. Carmen's always full of surprises, usually the kind that require damage control. Polite laughter rippled around the table. I felt my jaw clench. Actually, Forrest, I think you'll find this particular surprise quite illuminating. Something in my tone made him sit up straighter. The main course was cleared, and my mother stood to address her guests. She looked radiant, confident, completely in her element. Thank you all for being here tonight. 60 years feels like both a lifetime and a blink of an eye. I'm surrounded by the people who matter most to me, and I couldn't ask for anything more. Applause filled the room. She gestured toward our table. My children have been my greatest joy. Forrest, my successful son who makes me proud every single day. And Carmen, my creative daughter who keeps life interesting. More laughter. The casual dismissal was so automatic, she probably didn't even realize she'd done it. Now, before we have cake, I believe Carmen has something she'd like to share. My heart hammered as I stood up. The room fell silent. 40 pairs of eyes focused on me. I reached into my purse and pulled out the envelope. Thank you, Mom. You're right. I do have something to share. Something special for your birthday. I walked around the table to where she sat, the envelope in my hands. You've always taught me the importance of perseverance, of never giving up, even when people don't believe in you, even when your own family thinks you're wasting your time. My mother's smile flickered slightly. You've also taught me that actions speak louder than words, that success is the best revenge. So tonight, I want to give you something that shows exactly how much your lessons have meant to me. I handed her the envelope. Happy birthday, Mom. She took it with perfectly manicured fingers, her smile bright and expectant. Carmen, you shouldn't have spent money you don't have. Oh, I didn't spend money. I made it. She opened the envelope and pulled out the contract. I watched her eyes scan the first page, watched her face change as she processed what she was seeing. The Netflix logo at the top, my name in bold letters, the licensing fee, $4.2 million. Her hand began to tremble. The smile disappeared entirely. You never told me, she whispered. The room was dead silent, everyone straining to see what had caused such a dramatic reaction. You never cared enough to ask, I said calmly. Carmen, Forrest's voice was sharp with warning. What's going on? My mother looked up at me, her face pale. Your documentary, it was accepted. Not just accepted, bought by Netflix for $4.2 million. Gasps echoed around the room. Martina's champagne glass slipped from her fingers and shattered on the floor. The film premieres next month, I continued, my voice steady and clear. It's about family dynamics, generational patterns, the way some people build others up while tearing their own children down. My mother's mouth opened and closed soundlessly. Congratulations, Mom. You finally have a daughter who's successful enough to meet your standards. The room erupted in whispers and shocked murmurs. Some people started clapping uncertainly. Others just stared. My mother sat frozen, the contract trembling in her hands, her perfect birthday party crumbling around her. The silence stretched like a taut wire ready to snap. My mother stared at the contract, her face cycling through shock, confusion, and something that looked like fear. $4 million? Mrs. Patterson's voice cut through the quiet. Carmen, is this real? Very real. I turned to address the room. Netflix bought my documentary about toxic family dynamics. It premieres next month. The whispers started immediately. I caught fragments. Oats. Always knew she had potential. Art. Documentary about what? $4 million. Forrest stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. Carmen, can I speak with you privately? Actually, I think we're past private conversations, don't you? His face flushed red. This is inappropriate. This is Mom's birthday. You're right. It is Mom's birthday, and I just gave her the gift of finally having a successful daughter. Isn't that what she always wanted? My mother finally found her voice. Carmen, what exactly is this documentary about? Family? Favoritism? The way some parents build golden pedestals for one child while treating the other like an embarrassment. You filmed us? Forrest's voice was sharp with panic. I filmed life. If you see yourselves in it, that's on you. Martina leaned forward, her eyes gleaming with malicious curiosity. What kind of family dynamics, dear? The kind where a mother spends 30 years telling one child they're perfect, while telling the other they're a disappointment. The kind where success is measured only in dollar signs and social status. Carmen, my mother's voice was barely a whisper. You can't seriously be planning to what? Tell the truth? Share my story? Isn't that what you always said I should do? Follow my dreams? Forrest moved closer, his voice low and threatening. If you embarrass this family, if you air our private business. What? You'll what, Forrest? Dismiss me? Ignore me? Treat me like I don't matter? Because that ship has already sailed. This is blackmail, he hissed. This is success. The kind you're supposed to celebrate, remember? I pulled out my phone and opened my email. Actually, I have something else to share. Forrest went pale. Carmen, don't. Netflix just sent me the trailer. It's going live tonight. I hit send on a pre-written text to my social media accounts. Should be trending within the hour. My mother stood up shakily, still clutching the contract. Excuse me, I need some air. She walked toward the exit and I followed her into the hallway. Forrest was right behind us. How could you do this? She whispered, her perfect composure finally cracking. How could you betray your own family? Betray? I documented reality. If that feels like betrayal, maybe you should ask yourself why. You don't understand the consequences of what you've done. I understand perfectly. For the first time in my life, people are going to see me as successful, as valuable, as worth their attention. Forrest grabbed my arm. You need to stop this. Call Netflix. Tell them you changed your mind. I pulled away from him. Why would I do that? Because you're destroying everything we've built. What we've built, or what you've built on my back while I was invisible. Carmen, please, my mother's voice broke. Think about what this will do to our reputation, to our standing in the community, your standing, your reputation. When have you ever cared about mine? I've always cared about you. No, you've always been embarrassed by me. There's a difference. I reached into my purse and pulled out a second envelope. Actually, Forrest, since we're sharing family news, his face went white. What is that? DNA results. Turns out we're only half siblings. Interesting, right? My mother gasped. Carmen, no. Maurice Stewart sends his regards, by the way. Lovely man. Very chatty when I called him yesterday. Forrest snatched the envelope from my hands, his face cycling through confusion and horror as he read. This is impossible. 23andMe doesn't lie, brother. He looked at my mother, who had gone completely pale. Mom? Forrest, I can explain. You can explain why my entire life is a lie? It's not a lie. You're still my son. I'm still what? The golden child built on a foundation of deception? He crumpled the DNA results in his fist. This is your fault, he snarled at me. You couldn't just leave well enough alone. Well enough for who? For you? For Mom? What about well enough for me? You've destroyed everything. I've revealed everything. There's a difference. My phone buzzed with notifications. The trailer was live. I glanced at the screen. 50,000 views in 10 minutes. It's trending, I announced. Number 3 on Twitter. Fractured mirrors. My mother sank onto a hallway bench, her head in her hands. 34 years of marriage. Gone. Your marriage was built on lies, Mom. That's not my fault. Everything is ruined. Everything was already ruined. I just turned on the lights. Forrest stared at his phone, scrolling through the comments. They're talking about us. People are figuring out it's our family. Good. Let them talk. Let them see what really happens behind closed doors in perfect families. Carmen, my mother looked up at me with tears in her eyes. What do you want from us? I wanted you to see me. Really see me. Mission accomplished. I walked back toward the dining room, where the guests were buzzing with excitement and confusion. Some had left, but others were glued to their phones, watching the trailer that was making my family famous for all the wrong reasons. Ladies and gentlemen, I announced to the remaining crowd, thank you for celebrating my mother's birthday, and thank you for finally celebrating me. The documentary premiered on Netflix on a Tuesday. By Wednesday morning, my phone had 847 missed calls. Carmen, it's your mother. We need to talk. Please call me back. Carmen, this is Forrest. What you've done is unforgivable. The firm is asking questions. Call me. Darling, it's Aunt Patricia. I had no idea what you were going through. I'm so sorry. I deleted them all except the last one. Fatima found me on her couch, laptop open, reading the flood of comments and reviews. How are you feeling? Hollow, I said honestly. I thought I'd feel more triumphant. Revenge isn't supposed to feel good afterward. That's what makes it revenge instead of justice. The doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw my mother standing alone, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. Should I let her in? Fatima asked. Yeah, might as well finish this. My mother entered like she was walking into a courtroom. Her usual perfect composure was gone, replaced by something raw and desperate. Carmen, I've been thinking about what you said, about never seeing you. Have you? I watched your film 3 times. I closed my laptop. And? You were right. About everything. Her voice cracked. I did favor Forrest. I did dismiss your dreams. I did make you feel invisible. Why? She sat down heavily, her hands shaking. Because you reminded me of myself, of who I was before I learned to play their game. You had this fire, this authenticity that I'd buried so deep I forgot it existed. So you tried to bury mine too? I thought I was protecting you. I thought if I could make you more like Forrest, more acceptable, you'd have an easier life. By crushing my spirit, by teaching you to conform. It's what worked for me. Did it work? Because you seem pretty miserable. She was quiet for a long moment. Your father left me yesterday. 34 years of marriage. Over. I'm sorry. Are you? I considered the question. Yeah, I am. I didn't want to destroy your marriage. I just wanted you to acknowledge that I existed. The whole town is talking. Martina won't return my calls. The country club asked me to take a leave of absence from the charity board. So now you know what it feels like to be dismissed. Yes. She looked directly at me for the first time. And it's horrible. Fatima quietly excused herself to the kitchen, leaving us alone. What do you want from me, Carmen? How do I fix this? You can't fix 30 years in one conversation, Mom. But I can try. I can start. My phone buzzed with a text from Hadley. Saw the film. Proud of you. Coffee sometime? Then another from a number I didn't recognize. Hi, Carmen. This is Sarah Chen from the LA Times. We'd love to interview you about your documentary's impact on family dynamics. The film is changing things, I said, showing my mother the messages. People are talking about their own families, sharing their stories. Is that what you wanted? I wanted to be seen. Mission accomplished. At what cost? I looked at my mother, really looked at her. She seemed older, more fragile. The armor of perfection had cracked, revealing the scared woman underneath. The cost was telling the truth. If that destroyed things, maybe those things needed to be destroyed. What about us? Is there any chance for us? I don't know. Do you actually want a relationship with me? Or do you just want to control the narrative? I want to know my daughter, the real one, not the version I tried to create. The real me is stubborn. I'm ambitious. I don't care about your social circles or your rules about what success looks like. I make art that makes people uncomfortable. I'm beginning to understand that. My phone rang. Todd from Netflix. Carmen, congratulations. The film is breaking viewing records. We want to discuss your next project. I looked at my mother while I took the call. That sounds great, Todd. I actually have some ideas about generational healing. The work that comes after the truth-telling. When I hung up, my mother was watching me with something I'd never seen before. Respect. You're not the failure I convinced myself you were. No, I'm not. You're successful. More successful than Forrest, if we're being honest. Success isn't a competition, Mom. That's something you never understood. She stood to leave, then paused at the door. Would you consider having dinner with me sometime? Just us. No agenda. Maybe. But it would have to be real. No performance. No trying to fix me or change me. Just 2 women getting to know each other. Just a mother and daughter figuring out if they actually like each other. She smiled, and for the first time it reached her eyes. I'd like that. After she left, I sat alone in Fatima's living room. The documentary was playing on the TV, my name scrolling in the credits. I'd gotten everything I wanted: recognition, vindication, financial security. But I'd also lost something: the fantasy that my family could change, that love could overcome decades of damage. Maybe that was okay. Maybe some things needed to end before new things could begin. I picked up my phone and started typing a text to Hadley. Coffee sounds perfect. Some bridges burn. Others get rebuilt, stronger than before. I was finally ready to find out which was which.